Every sport you find exciting.
.32 back on the Sports Fix. You're listening to ESPN Radio and ESPNGo1.com. Scott Brantley, Adam Reardon with you. Chris Doring's got the day off. And we're going to turn our attention now down to Coral Gables and the University of Miami as they kick off their season this Saturday on the road at Boston College. And when we talk Miami Hurricane football here on the Sports Fix, we talk to the one and only Danny Money of CanesInSight.com, the best in the business, covering the Canes for us. Danny, good morning. How you doing, buddy?
Good. How you guys doing?
Doing quite well. And finally, this is my favorite time of year, that this will be the last time we talk before we see action on the football field. I know you're a big Stephen Morris guy, maybe because there are no real legitimate other options right now at the University of Miami as far as the quarterback position. But is he ready to lead this team? Is this his team and his time to shine as one of the quarterbacks in the long lineage of great quarterbacks at Miami?
Well, I mean, just from, an intangible standpoint as far as whether he's asserting leadership and whether he's considered the leader of the team, absolutely. The team looks to him for leadership. He's very well respected, and he's embracing that role. He has been since spring. He didn't play in spring. He sat out with a back injury, but yet he was the coach on the field and really kind of took charge of the team then, even though he wasn't playing. Now, obviously, the next step in becoming the real leader of the team is showing it on the field and showing that he's the guy that they can count on to make the plays, to win the games. Now, remember, his first start was against Maryland as a true freshman, and he led the team back in a fourth-quarter comeback, really kind of like a Walt Disney-type finish with a beautiful, perfect pass to Leonard Hankerson, game-winning touchdown. So, he earned some respect there. A lot of the guys on the current team weren't on that team. So, as far as becoming really the guy that they look to, he needs to show it on the field. I think he can do it. I think the system suits him, what Jedfish is going to do. With that kind of Mike Shanahan-style offense that he's installed will really suit Stephen Morris's mobility, his ability to throw downfield. He has a tremendous arm. I think you're going to see a lot more receivers running after the catch. Ja'Cory tended to flow passes in with a lot of touch, which works sometimes. He's a great red zone passer, for instance, but really limited the receiver's ability to run after the catch because they were waiting for the ball. With Stephen Morris, I don't think you'll see that problem, and again, he has the legs to make plays. So I think he's in store for a really good year, and he's definitely trying to be the leader of the team. But to really, truly become that guy, he needs to show it on the field, and that starts on Saturday.
Yeah, and I've always said, Danny, that the quarterback needs to establish himself as the leader of all football teams on all levels. I've always said that. Now, and I know down at Miami there's some good defensive players, but who is that guy on defense, since you mentioned leadership? Who is the guy everybody's looking to defensively to be that guy?
Well, it's two players, really. And Scott, like better than anybody, it's not just the guy that talks the most. It's the guy that produces and can be relied on the field. So not surprisingly, the two leaders on defense are probably the two best players on defense, Anthony Chickillo and Denzel Perryman.
Wow.
That's defense and linebacker. Denzel Perryman really he had a phenomenal freshman year, probably the most talented player on the entire team. Kind of a quiet guy. I know Al challenged him, Coach Golden challenged him to really step up his leadership, vocally, step up the way he prepares, and basically just, they knew he could play, but really take that role and seize it. And he's done that. They're very happy with how he's emerged as a leader. Certainly his play, they're expecting great things. He could be an All-America type player.
Awesome. And he wears a great number. He wears number 52. I love that about him. but being surrounded by so many other seniors, and he's a sophomore, Chickillo's a sophomore, those are the new guys. How come they have taken the reins from a lot of these seniors?
Well, I mean, to be quite frank, they made more plays than the seniors last year, and they're better players.
Okay.
So that's pretty much what it is. They've worked extremely hard in the weight room. Perryman's weight room numbers are pretty much absurd. I mean, his squats up to like 525. He's running about 4.52, bench pressing a ton. Chickillo's also made great strides, put on about 25 pounds.
Love him.
So
I played with his daddy. I played with his father at Tampa Bay, Tony Chickillo, and here's a kid. How close was he coming to the campus here at University of Florida, because I know it was close, but when it comes down to blood and second and third generation Miami Hurricane, that's why he's there.
Well, they call him 3G for third generation. That's his nickname. So, when he signed with Miami, or when he committed to Miami, I should say, he had a shirt that said "Blood is thicker than water." So that's pretty much says it all. But there were rumors he was going to Florida, but I think as far as in the Chicolo household, that might have been a pretty easy decision.
And now, Danny, let me ask you about the defense as a whole. Obviously, a couple of good young players there. But last year, I would say inconsistency, the word. Some days that Miami's defense would look great. Sometimes they would look bad, sometimes in the same game, as a matter of fact. This year, more consistency, is that what, basically, is that what the doctor orders for this team?
I think really what the goal is for the defense this year is to get better on third down and to get better as far as producing turnovers. If you look at Miami's scoring defense last year, they were in the top 30. They were actually pretty good and excellent in the red zone. They had sort of bend-don't-break defense and really did a good job of keeping teams from scoring touchdowns. However, they were really bad on third down, towards the bottom of the NCAA, really bad at turnovers. I think they were close to last. So, while they kept teams out of the end zone, they really didn't put their offense in a position to win the game, and they were on the field too much. So I think that is the focus, getting off the field, making plays, getting their offense in a position to get some easy points. That's what they're emphasizing, and really that's just going to come with getting more playmakers. Hopefully some of these younger players, recruits, particularly on the defensive line and the front seven, can emerge.
Now, Danny Money, CanesInsight.com, our guest here on the Sports Fix. Want to ask you about one guy in particular who missed a lot of fall practice, in Chantrell Henderson, who, if you go back a few years, he's the number one recruit in the country. Possibly not even going to Boston College for this football game. I like to believe that I'm a read between the lines type of guy. Is Chantrell Henderson a guy that skates on thin ice a lot, or is this one of these things where, unfortunately, he was befell by a whole bunch of circumstances that kept him from practicing?
It's a little bit of both. As far as the Boston College game, he doesn't have enough practice time to travel. Bottom line, he's not ready conditioning-wise, although he's in probably the best shape of his life from a weight perspective. He's as light as he's been. He's just not in football shape. And really, that's a position of strength for Miami right now, that tackle position. Chantrell's a freak, obviously, with his size and athletic ability, but there's a few guys on that Miami roster that are comparable in terms of size and athletic ability, between Malcolm Bunch, Eric Flowers, the two starting tackles, Jermaine Johnson, who's sort of the swing offensive lineman coming off the bench. They're looking good at that position, so there's no need to rush him in. I think they still have plans for Chantrell. They might ease him in with some sort of jumbo packages in the goal line, that sort of thing. And I don't think they're getting up on him. I think he's still part of the future, but they've done enough recruiting-wise at that position that they don't have to rely on him, which is a good thing.
Danny, final question for you.
Do they win at BC?
I think they do. And I mentioned this a little bit last week, but the things that caused Miami to lose the game last year have been, was Ja'Cory Harris throwing 4 interceptions, which was not uncharacteristic of him because he's done it in the past, but uncharacteristic of how he played last year in Jed Fish's offense. He only had about 9 interceptions on the year, so 4 interceptions against BC, that's about half his season total. Boston College is able to run the ball at will, which is probably the biggest concern heading into this game because of Miami's weakness up front with the front four. But Miami has gotten stronger. They made tremendous gains in the weight room, so the hope is that strength disadvantage has been alleviated somewhat. And the real difference maker in that Boston College game last year was Luke Kuechly. He's just an unbelievable player. You've seen him in the preseason. He's probably going to be Defensive Rookie of the Year if he keeps this up. He's moved on, so that difference maker for Boston College isn't necessarily there. Boston College also a little banged up. So I think Miami does win this game, and if they don't, it's going to be a long season.
Danny Money, CanesInsight.com, man, the best in the business covering the University of Miami. As always, appreciate it. My friend, enjoy some football this weekend, and we'll talk to you next week.
Hopefully coming off a win. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Danny Money, CanesInsight.com. Coming up next, we'll jump up the state here and go to Tallahassee, talk to our good friend Ira Schofel of the Tallahassee Democrat. We'll talk about the Florida State Seminoles and what they've got to look forward to this weekend. You're listening to the Sports Fix on ESPN Radio.
We're back. The RTS Gatorator is back for this football season.